Hey, Internet. It's Paul. He's back. And Matt, the Dork Lords. We're here talking about Westworld Season 2, Episode 8, Kiksuya, which apparently is Lakota for remember. I think I can figure out why that word might be appropriate for this episode.
Yeah, you think?
Perhaps. This isn't one of those cloaked in mystery. How did they? Laissez coucher? What the? Okay. No, good to have you back, by the way, Paul.
Oh, thank you.
I assume your show's going well.
Oh, you sure?
Okay, good. That's the review
Yes.
of deck chairs. Okay.
There you go. Going well.
So, this is actually a really, really cool episode. I was a big fan of this one.
Yeah.
I could see it might be controversial, but maybe not. I mean, it's just quality TV. I could see it. Some people. Here's the argument against it. If somebody was going to be argued against, they'd say they would equate it to one of those episodes in a show that,
like a bottle episode.
Yeah. But I don't see it that way. And
No.
also,
well,
which is really interesting.
Advanced both Men in Black story and Maeve's story as well.
It
So
did. And it answered some questions back from
Yes.
season 1 and
Yes.
questions we've been wanting to know about Ghost Nation.
yes.
So it's not a bottle episode. Don't let people fool you. It's really, really well done. And it's a love story that kind of just stuck into this nice little hour.
Yes.
It's really, really nice. We begin. Yes. Oh, point.
No.
Counterpoint.
We begin.
We begin with actually the Man in Black. As you remember, we talked about last time. He was shot to hell.
Yes.
Somehow still alive.
Yes.
Again,
just-
we won't cover that territory
Just
again.
throw him on a horse.
But yeah, so he's trying to crawl to the river, which, yeah, it would be good. But I'm trying. It's almost like he's equating it to, once I hit the river, I'm fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
All I need is just dab some water on these bullet wounds.
That's
and
all.
I'm
Oof.
good.
That's the magic water.
Woo! Thank goodness. But he doesn't reach the river.
No.
The magical river that he can splash. So he comes up just short, passes out. Blood loss, we can assume.
Sure.
Akichita, I think that's how we pronounce it in this episode. So Akichita, the leader of the Ghost Nation, finds him at the river. And basically says, it's interesting, he's like, oh, you're alive. The door, you're not worthy of the door, something like that. Or like, you're not worthy of exiting this world just yet. So in other words, I'm going to keep you alive because you're not worthy of dying, I guess. I don't know. So he very roughly like throws him on his horse, takes him back to the Ghost Nation camp, throws him off the horse, drags him, and then leaves him by a tree. Again, it's just like, man, how is this guy? This guy's Superman. Okay. Or a robot. Okay, never mind. We're not talking about that. This is our introduction to, this is an Akichita episode, which it is. Do you think, the first time I saw Akichita show up at the river, I was thinking, oh, this is another Ford checking in on the Man in Black moment.
Yeah.
But that would imply that Akichita is still on a loop generated by Ford. What do you think? I feel like Akichita, at the end of this episode, I felt like Akichita has free will, but you could make the case that maybe he is somehow still on a Ford narrative.
I mean, I don't know. As you were saying that, I was questioning. I think we still don't know enough about these people who were previously, we don't know enough about the quest that the Man in Black is on and how it relates to what Ford wants. We know pretty well how Ford is influencing Bernard right now and that he's in his brain. So, to the extent that he's influencing other people, it's a question to me.
Okay.
It's like, for instance, Dolores, right? Did he want her to do that? Because now it seems as if she's definitely going to be in a different place than a number of other robots. And then it's like, does he want them to have a war? Or, does his plot just like, okay, I mean, sort of like the best ideas win or something. So
Well, let's jump then, even though whatever. We're jumping to the middle of the episode, but there's a very important conversation that Ford has with Akichida.
right.
So Akichida, in the middle of waking up, stumbles on Ford. Mm-hmm. Very interesting, like, I guess he's out in the wild with a diorama of like a big bear being attacked by some, it's the Ghost Nation in Frozen, and I think he even scalps one because he sees the scalp. He's like, oh, you've been doing these things.
Yeah.
But
I feel like he came along and was like, freeze, and then was like, let me just check this out.
Yeah, and then and Akichida knows, at least as he's telling the story, he knows who Ford is in terms of like, this is that very important guy.
Right.
But interestingly, Ford mentions in this conversation, oh yes, the Deathbringer, Dolores, when she's going to kill me, and when she kills me, that's your signal to lead your people to the door. I mean, he didn't say it exactly that way, but that's basically what he says.
He didn't say it that way. But yes.
But yeah, okay.
That's the gist.
That's the gist. So my point being, in case there were any doubts, I don't think too many people doubted this, but whether Ford intended for Dolores to shoot him or not, he did.
Yeah.
I mean, that's fairly obvious, but it's definitely obvious now. I mean, he knew it was coming. He's like, Dolores is going to kill me.
Yeah, he said in the last episode that he
didn't force her, but he forced her.
He knew she knew what she would do.
Yeah. He manipulated her and was like, well, she could have done anything, but I knew she'd do this.
I mean, right? Because wasn't it him who put White into her?
I think that's true.
Yeah. No,
you're right. It was Arnold to try to wipe everybody out.
Screwed her up.
Yeah.
And you think
Arnold screwed her up.
I think he would know, right? You think Ford would know that's what he did. He had every way to know it.
Oh, yeah.
So, and it's still a question to me whether or not the one that's backed up, that's running around in a simulation, although maybe it doesn't really matter what they do since they don't seem to be doing anything in there.
Well, the simulation might be done now because they blew up the cradle.
Right, true.
Yeah, so that might be a thing of the past anyway. But so I thought it was interesting in that conversation that Akichida says the Deathbringer killed the creator. And so he's equating Arnold to the creator. He's not saying Ford's the creator in that moment, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, that's interesting.
It's like, what do you say? You're the people that puts us to sleep.
The co-creator.
You're the co-creator. You're the assistant director. No, but I think he called him the people that put us to sleep, something like that.
Maybe.
Because he can do this and turn people off. So it was interesting. You have the Deathbringer, the creator, and this sleep maker.
Yeah. I'm not remembering in the first season, there was like this whole religion around the people in like wetsuits or whatever they are.
Yep. Yeah, and that was really part of the interesting part of this episode too, was seeing how the mythology spreads. And it made me. It was interesting in that conversation he has with Ford. It seems like Ford didn't pick up on this maze idea before Akichida started, etching it into scalps and stuff. Like, it seemed like, as opposed to Ford coming up with the maze game and Akichida finding it and then being obsessed with it and trying to find his consciousness, it feels more like Akichida got obsessed with it first, and then Ford latched on to the fact that it was spreading in the park already.
I don't know. I feel like it's more like something of Arnold, that he was thinking about that, because in the first season, I think it was, or early in this, no, it had to be the first season. Ford was saying that, yes, that's what Arnold was thinking about.
Oh, about the maze concept versus, he was like, it's not a maze, it's more like a pyramid or something. Yeah.
So I think
chaos is a ladder.
I think he was thinking about the, we know that Bernard was thinking about the consciousness of the robots or whatever. So, and the fact that he had that toy or whatever. So it's really strongly connected to.
So Akichida, early on in his development, he comes upon the destruction, Arnold's death, basically, and Town's dead. He sees Dolores lying there dead. He walks into the bar and he picks up the little toy maze that it's been a while, but I feel like that was Arnold, like his son Charlie maybe had that toy, or that was the connection he had to it.
Correct us if we're wrong.
Correct us if we're wrong. If we remember what the maze was, the little toy maze in the bar. But so yeah, I think you're right in that I think Arnold had this idea of the maze being this concept for the hosts to gain their
go in, look inward, basically, right?
Yeah.
That's what I guess the metaphor is supposed to symbolize, and I feel like it's really Ford's idea about the suffering. I think.
Okay, he added that layer on, perhaps.
Yeah, maybe.
So Akichita does suffer. First of all, he's got, I guess, in the original days, his robot. They're just like living in a blissful life. Like for a while, they're like.
Yes.
They're not even in any storylines.
Well,
they're just
like they don't at the time
guests.
when Arnold gets killed. I think is before they're about to open up.
Right.
So they're not really interacting with anybody.
They're not interacting with anybody. You're right.
Abusing them like rabidly.
Good point. So yeah, he's got his cornerstone is his love interest, Kohana, and everything's great.
Yeah, his buddy.
And they have this little phrase back and forth that they say to each other. Now that I'm forgetting it.
Yeah, it's okay. That nice little phrase.
Will you take my heart when you go? And then it's take my heart in its place, or something like that. Yeah, and which harkens back to Shogun World, maybe a little too literally. When Sakura dies, heart. I'll take it with me when I go. Yeah. We don't have to see a repeat of that. He's living this blissful life. Then he gets repurposed as the park opens finally, and they're like, "Oh, let's get a new narrative with these more stereotypical Indians that are savages and kill everyone." And so he gets the war paint. And you see a lot of shots of him just killing, I assume, other hosts.
Yeah.
And
other hosts.
Yeah. Otherwise, oh crap! What a.
Otherwise he wouldn't pull. He avoided getting pulled in. He couldn't get updates.
Right.
I mean, if he was killing humans.
So he manages.
That's fine.
He manages to survive all of those different
10 years.
For 10 years, yeah, 10 years without. The way they update the host is when they die. They bring them in while they're fixing them up. They're like, "I'll give him an update," and they realize, "Oh crap, we never brought this guy in. He's an Alpha 2."
And apparently, I think we can guess that, or maybe not, that woman, the older woman who was a matriarch in the thing,
sure.
Maybe she hadn't been either.
Right, you get the feeling she hadn't, and we get the notion that Akichita is trying to stay alive to also retain his memories.
Right,
like it's a purpose. Like, I don't want to be re-uploaded. I want to know my
you would think
pain.
they had another way of getting, right? Because it's not like he was like, wait a minute, he was perfectly fine killing people again and again and again, the same people.
Over and the same way.
The same way, right? So it seemed like they have a way, perhaps, of maybe there's some built-in loop aspect of how they typically think or something.
So what sets him off, though, is that his love interest, Kohana, is replaced. They move her to a different tribe, and he suddenly, in the midst of all of his new narrative, he sees her. They've repurposed her for a different role, basically. And he's like, wait, I know you.
Well, he had sort of left this role, right? I mean, he was in the nice Native American group.
And then they put him in.
And then he was like, no, I'm the killing Native American group.
Yeah, they upped his stats.
Or actually, I think they more simplified it, really, the way they were talking about it.
Okay. But yes, you're right. I guess they moved him as opposed to moving her.
Right.
Is what you're saying. So he sees her. He remembers. He has a memory. Kiksuya, but she doesn't remember him, at least at first.
No.
And he's constantly drawing the maze, and people are thinking he's weird and he's an outcast. What the hell is this guy? He's crazy. He starts. Then a very important moment in his awakening is he stumbles on Logan. So Logan had been sent off naked on a horse back in the day, and we theorized at the time, this is back season 1, that he must be dead because he's naked on a horse in the desert. No, and we knew that already, but from this season we see him toward the end of his life. I guess he commits suicide eventually, and that's outside the park. But so this is him. Some amount of time after being sent naked on a horse. I think that's a little weird. Because based on his facial hair, he's still well kempt, and yet he's sunburned to hell and crazy. You would think based on his facial hair, he's been out for a day or two. Based on his crazy and his horse is dead, that it's been weeks. But I don't know. Yeah, whatever it is, that's fine. Let's say it's weeks. But he's naked, sunburned, horse is dead, and he's just spouting off words which are probably not nonsense. If we went back and analyzed, maybe we should get a script of all of the, verbal mad ravings, and I'll bet you they amount to something. But one of the things he tells Kiksuya, which is very informative, is this: "This is the wrong world, and I need to find the door." And those are two things that are whoop. They resonate with the Kiksuya big time.
Yeah, and it's probably around that time that he sees that area.
Right. So he goes in search of it, but he gives a blanket to Logan. It's your people will come for you.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that blanket would help too. I mean, it would hurt with the burn, but it'd be like, oh, I'm really, really hot in this desert. You know what I'd love? A blanket. Oh, God. Oh, it's nice and furry and, oh, good. This is great. I'm glad it increased my body temperature. Anyway.
If you ever see those, it looks like some sort of poncho material or whatever, it's not bad.
Okay. All right. So be it. So his people do come for him. Now, why didn't they come for him earlier? I wonder. Your people will come for you long after you're sunburned and crazy.
Yeah.
That's when they'll find you.
Yeah.
But anyway, so they do. I'm just saying, you would think oh, Logan's hasn't reported back. Let's go get him. Beep, 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 boop. There he is. No, anyway, yeah.
I'm satisfied.
He got crazy first.
I'm satisfied with the amount of crazy.
I'm saying
Logan has level of hair on his face. Logan took them to find him.
Logan has a very good lawsuit.
Let's make a little timeline about how much clothing he had, how much water his horse would have had to try to drink.
This sounds like a great episode. Thank you, Paul. No, I'm just saying he could sue the crap out of that place. Be like, oh, you just left me to be naked on a horse for weeks until I went crazy.
In that time, Delos is like, hey, I can live forever? My stupid son who can't even, gets lost and now wants to sue them? Here, have some drugs.
It wasn't that he got lost as much as he was sabotaged, but yeah, all right. Anyway, I'm just saying, go sue him. Sue your dad.
Can't beat some poor guy who's trying to marry my daughter.
All right. So that's very informative for Kiksuya. He now begins looking for the door, and he finds it, or at least what he thinks it is, and I believe it is the Valley Beyond. It looks very similar to the place where William takes Dolores, and he's got all the moving equipment, the little striated valley. So it's the Valley Beyond, and we see in it it's deep. There's a lot of cooling towers or something in there. A lot of there's machinery. We're not exactly sure what's there. There's an elevator maybe. It's hard to tell. But he equates it to this is the doorway to the real world.
Yes.
And so he goes back. He kidnaps his love interest, basically.
Yes.
He manages to convince her. He gets her to remember. But before that, he kidnaps her.
Yes.
And he washes all the paint off his face. He's like, okay, I'm back to me again. And she eventually remembers that phrase that they used to say, take my heart when you go.
Yeah.
And so he's like, we're going to go to the door together. Yes, fortunately. That would have been very awkward otherwise. So they go in search of the door, but they can't find it. I think maybe it's been covered over. I don't know. Maybe the valley, like that. Whatever was it's now underground. It was a valley, and now it's under earth, maybe. I don't know. But he can't find the door, but he's still looking for it. She gets captured by the QA folks, or the techs, who are like, how'd she get out to this part of the park? All right, let's take her back for fixing. And they don't see Akecheta chasing after the car.
Well, the thing that struck me, not that it matters to me at all, unlike you, there was a horse. Yeah. There's a horse. That's just, they pass, and he's like, oh, I have no way to catch them.
Well, why not take the horse as well, right? The horse is a robot, too. I mean, like, why didn't they just leave it? You're way out of range. Leave the horse. But you're right. Get on the horse. Anyway, but they don't see him. They see her. Take her back. So now he's trying to find a way to get back to her. And he can't figure it out until he starts he's noticing other tribe members are disappearing and being replaced. And finally, other people start to notice as well, including this matriarch you talk about, who's like, my son's not my son anymore. And she mentions this mythology that's been built up that, like, they get taken below and they're ghosts.
Right.
Which is Ghost Nation, the fact that they have ghosts living among themselves. There's maybe the name origin there. But, yeah, their people are being replaced by ghosts. So he determines, if I can go to the underworld, maybe I can... it's kind of like Orpheus in a way. I didn't think about that. The idea, the myth of Orpheus, who goes down to the underworld to get his true love. But then can't when he comes back. He's like, don't look back! And she looks back and then can't come with him. But anyway. But I don't know. There's no... Anyway, all right.
No, I'm just saying, that's too bad. She looked back. If she only had not looked back.
Don't look back. Don't look back. So he, as Orpheus, descends. No, he basically willingly gets killed. And...
that's when we hear about he has not had an update in a long time. That takes too long. 4 hours. Let's...
Go to lunch. And by the way, everyone in the lab go to lunch.
Yeah.
Maybe it was like a pizza lunch.
Yeah, like a pizza for lunch.
It's pizza for lunch. A pizza for lunch. You got to sing the Pizza for Lunch song. So yeah, it was like they did a bonding lunch thing. Where they're like, hey, let's all go to Mariano's and we'll disappear for a while. Yeah. So anyway, the lab's empty. He walks around it with impunity.
Yes.
Stumbles down to the storage facility where they keep all the out-of-date bots.
Yeah.
And he finds her. Very touching scene.
Him and his buddy.
And he sees the son of the matriarch.
That's right.
Cuts a little lock of his hair off to give show. Look, I found your son.
That is his hair.
But so yeah, it's a very touching scene because he's found her, but she's obviously offline, so she's just not communicative. And in that moment,
I wonder if they've even taken out her brain thing there.
Yeah, good point. I'm gonna think not.
Okay.
I don't know. Like when they've got Abernathy down there.
Yeah.
When they put the stuff in him, it seems like he just already had his personality in there.
All right.
But she's offline. But the thing he notices while he's there is, oh my goodness, wow, it's not this. I'm being selfish. This isn't just about me. Like, look at all of these people who are all a loss to someone, even if they don't know it. They're feeling lost somehow.
Yes.
And I need to fix this problem for all of these people. And so he starts, I think, on this idea of bringing his people to freedom.
Yeah. By showing them the door, and the maze or whatever too, right?
Right, showing them the maze, which spreads the myth of the maze, but also the idea of like, I think he's going. We've seen in the trailers for future episodes this like long line of people that he's leading in the desert, kind of maybe like a Moses thing. I don't know. I must free my people.
Cue up.
Actually, think of that. The waters.
Oh, sure.
Part of the waters that goes over. Did I just come up with the ending for this show? All right. Anyway, so he's on that trajectory. One of the things early in his life that is very impactful for the story is he, in his journeys, he gets a little too close to, like Sweetwater and places where he could get hurt, and he gets hurt pretty bad, and he's dying, and he doesn't want to die because he'd lose his memory, and he stumbles on Maeve's daughter. Maeve's daughter nurses him back to health, is kind to him. He remembers that. And so for the rest of his time, he's constantly looking out for her, which is misinterpreted by Maeve as, I'm trying to kill you.
Yes.
And so, but he's constantly looking out for her. And so what we get is this whole time he's been telling the story to Maeve's daughter, who he's taken to keep safe. He's got her at the Ghost Nation camp, and he's talking to her and telling her this story.
Yeah, and the thing to think about, I guess, in terms of the when he's talking, for the most part, he mentions to the man in black is like, oh yeah, I never learned your language, and I'm sure the girl doesn't know it either, except all that time he's really talking to Maeve, who does know it.
Yeah, so that's the kind of big reveal at the end of the episode is it's been Maeve the whole time who has the ability. You all right there, sir?
Yeah, I just need another one of these.
Hang in there. He's here. Even it's like doing doing your duty, sir. You're here, even though you're like half strength.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
So Maeve has the ability to She's, I think, seeing through her daughter's eyes, perhaps, and communicating through her daughter. And Kiksuya knows who he's talking to. That's true. Well, yeah, good point. I guess it's mostly through Kiksuya. But she does say at the very end, now whether it's her daughter saying that too, but she says, take my heart when you go.
Yes.
So Kiksuya, we get this big reveal. Maeve's on the table. We had this big moment. We're cutting to Maeve here for a second, but Sizemore is crying over the fact that she's at this state that looks like maybe the end for Maeve, and he's like, you deserve to have happiness. You deserve to have your daughter. He's crying. Maybe a little unearned, but they're trying to retcon Sizemore a little bit to be a sympathetic guy. And so they're getting there anyway. So he's sympathetic, and I feel like there's probably an arc where Sizemore is going to turn against the techs in the lab in order for Maeve's interest. I think that's coming.
Probably.
But at the moment, he's said like, "Oh, what are you going to do with her?" And they're like, "You don't. You just leave." And he's like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah. At first, he alerts them to the fact that she's different than the others. That she
can control people with her mind, or control hosts with her mind.
Right. And quite logically, it's that whisper net thing that they've got going on.
Yeah, the mesh.
So not technically her mind. She's actually giving commands, and so they can't get into the system, but Maeve is getting into the system.
She has admin rights.
They will want to use that somehow to exploit that.
Right.
We'll see if they are able to. Certainly, she's still on the table next week.
Much like last week when Dolores says, "Oh, they're going to torture you and then use you against us." They're going to use that power most likely. But Charlotte comes in. She's looking at the tablet. They're like, "See, she has this weird power," and they're like, "Yeah, she's still using it.
Yeah.
She's using it right now."
Yeah.
And she's probably plugged into the network, so it's probably even like worse. She's like, "Oh, look at this! Thanks for giving me access to everything."
Yeah.
But so she's using it to at least talk to Kiksuya through her daughter, but maybe more things. She might be bringing other hosts online.
I was kind of hoping that it was going to be some sort of, whoa, now people are coming to kill us.
All the hosts come up.
Because I still, Charlotte's not bad, but I still feel like, she's been far too arrogant.
Yeah. We do know that she survives at least into that 2 week from the retirement party scenario, that she's still alive at that time. Because we've seen her, so potentially she's not going to get killed off in this moment. But
no.
But you're right. She is very arrogant and doesn't seem to have reason to be. You're like, you're really in trouble. Okay. Very touching moment there. And Kiksuya says to her, "We will protect your daughter, like we were trying to do the whole time. And if you can survive, come join us, or basically die well, basically, is what he's trying to say. So if you can get away, you know where your daughter is, it's going to be with us. We're going to keep her safe." That's pretty amazing.
Sure, yeah.
It's pretty So he's got this noble goal of looking out for the hosts, basically, and in a non-kill everyone way. And he says, very importantly in that same moment, he says something like, we need to find the door before the Deathbringer ends us all, I think is what he says.
Yeah.
So the Deathbringer, pretty specifically, they've stated earlier in the episode, is Dolores. So I think what he's saying there is, we also see Dolores in episode 1 of season 2 kill a Ghost Nation person. They review his memories and to see that his last memory was Dolores shooting him and saying, like, we don't all deserve to be in the valley.
Yep.
So it seems like she's kind of like anti-Ghost Nation, that she feels like they're on a different path maybe, and boo them. But so whether Dolores is actively hunting hosts, she kind of is, or the fact that she's bringing all of these people to stop her, hence stopping all the hosts. One way or another, he, being Akichida, sees the idea that Dolores is going to bring about the end of us, so we need to get out of here while we can, I think is the idea.
Maybe.
So the fact that Ford said, when my death, which Akichida sees the result of it, when you find me, the Deathbringer kills me, that's your signal to get to the door with your people. And so that's what Akichida is trying to do, I think, is round up hosts and head for the door, which is really cool. I mean, it is definitely moving right toward the end of this season.
Yes.
Man in Black, we cut, so near the end of the episode, we come back to him. He's still laying there untreated.
Yes.
And
they threw some water on him.
Did they throw water on him? I don't know. Maybe. Sure. Vinegar.
Magical water.
Oh, geez. Salt. So his daughter rides up and basically makes a deal. Akichida's like, oh, that guy's responsible for a lot of horrible things. Yeah. I remember this guy. I know this guy. He doesn't deserve. Like, we're gonna make him suffer. We're gonna keep him alive to make him suffer. And her response is, oh, he'll do a lot more suffering my way. So let me take him. And they really, without any real argument, are like, all right.
Yeah.
Like, could you tell us how? I don't know. They're like, yeah, okay. So she gets to take him away. And in the trailer for next week, we see this looks like it's going to be going back into William's past, specifically around the suicide of his wife, maybe. We talked about this, though. It's Sayla Ward?
Yes.
Who it is?
It's
the actress who was in The Fugitive. She was in, what was it?
Once and Again with Evan Rachel Wood.
Right, hence a little connection there.
Yeah.
They were both robots in that. No, okay. So, point being, when I saw her in the trailer, I thought, oh, well, that's his wife. She probably committed suicide. Paul brought up the good point. We've seen William's wife already.
Yes.
We saw her at the retirement party for James Delos, for instance. And ain't Sayla Ward. It's somebody else.
Yes.
So who is that? And is that, anyway. So it's still in question, I guess, as to whether it's his wife or not. Yeah. Who else would it be? Does he have a sister, maybe? I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah.
Some kind of kin. So there's a relationship there. But we see him driven to contemplate suicide. He puts a gun to his head, at the very least. So I think the suffering that his daughter, Emily, is talking about is, I'm going to make him face his past, face the person he is, as opposed to just taking the quick out and dying. And so that's the suffering that she intends to put on him. How she does that, other than just telling him stuff, I don't know. She's going to talk therapy him into just having a horrible
Maybe there's
day.
a representation of his wife there.
Oh, in the park, you mean?
Yeah.
Maybe so.
Even though she never trusted those robots.
Also, we could see, I don't know how this necessarily works, but they are deliberately being deceptive about the body in the tub. About the suicide. The implication is it's his wife. Is there a shocker coming where he looks over and it's actually him, or it's actually his daughter, or it's somebody besides his wife in the tub. Maybe that's one of those little twist moments. Anyway, we'll see. I think next week is when they'll probably show us that, because we're getting very close to the end of the season, and I think the last episode is going to be this journey to the valley. Now, so we've got Ghost Nation, and Maeve is on their side because they've got her daughter, and they've said, don't hate us. We're protecting her.
Don't be a hater.
So she's going to be on the Ghost Nation side. Also, if Dolores starts attacking Ghost Nation, that means she's indirectly attacking Maeve's daughter, which makes Maeve go, boo you.
Oh, look at that. Some of the people are saying that is his wife.
Okay. All right. So maybe it's they just got a different actress.
Or maybe we didn't really see her before, but
Okay. I thought we did, though. I thought there was that moment when William is
I feel like
watching
we did
Dolores
too.
playing piano.
and I didn't feel like it was her.
And he's talking to his wife.
Maybe
His wife's
we were
giving the
mistaken.
weird looks at Dolores like, oh, that's that robot you were having sex with. And he's like, ha, ha, ha. Anyway. So, second wife? Oh. So that's coming. So I still feel like there's a chance for a Maeve versus Dolores square off moment here. I don't think this is the end of Maeve's story by any means. I think she's still kicking and kind of contribute. Maeve's.
Oh yeah, hell no.
So she will get off that table at some point. What else, sir? Anything?
No.
Final words?
No.
Okay. So very good episode. It was a little bit of a curveball for Westworld, but in a great way.
Oh yeah.
It wasn't filled with lots of little gimmicks and what's the mystery here? It was just like it's a love story, and we filled in the gaps. Also, the guy who, because we saw Maeve in season 1 fall down in the maze that was drawn in the dirt, and it was a time of like, how did that get there? Oh. We know how that got there. He drew it outside the house because he was trying to waken, maybe not just the daughter, but maybe also Maeve.
I mean, from my perspective, it just more fully emphasized what the themes of the show are. In having a number of characters, the Ghost Nation, and not really exploring them all, you could start to wonder if in some way the show was doing what people at the park were doing, and sort of dehumanizing people, right? And so the fact that they just come and kill or whatever, this episode really explored who these characters were in a way that mirrors our own country's relationship with Native Americans, which is good. And it's like, you shouldn't just think about them as marauders and killers and all that. They're actually humans with their own concerns. And even in situation in the show where you saw where they kind of like dumbed them down or whatever, just so they would
made them really stereotypical,
right?
But they broke that
and limited, and in many ways you can see Dolores taking the same view. It's like she in many ways is taking on the philosophy of the people of their abusers, and is continuing to do that with other of the hosts there. So I mean, if you want like the traditional sort of way to look at people who are trying to protest injustice is the dichotomy between Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, right? And you could say that Maeve maybe Martin Luther King and Dolores Malcolm X, but of course every situation is more complicated than that. But it's hard for me to see how Dolores's way of just taking people who are willing to kill humans, the show's going to be like, that's the best way. That's you just gotta kill the humans.
Yeah. And, credits. Yeah. No.
I mean, for me, a better, and who knows if they'll be able to do it this season or if at all. But the best solution I would assume to this problem is, okay, we've created this species now, this other thing. How can they live? Can we coexist with them? Incidentally, something we've talked about on this before is Humans is back, and they're trying to deal with all the
show Humans,
change. Yes, the show Humans. All the change that occurs when robots get consciousness.
Yeah, you're right. It's very similar themes with a little bit lower budget.
Yes, right. But I mean, it's a question whether or not the end plan is for the robots on Westworld to leave the park and become part of the world or not.
They've got to be. They're heading that direction. I mean, whether that happens this season or season 3.
Well, you were imagining that it's something other than that. this door, whatever.
Oh yeah, well I feel like the door
is.
now that it didn't look like it was to the exit the park. When he was looking at it, there was desert all around it. It looks like it's still somewhat centrally located. I was thinking more it's that doorway to where they're keeping the guest data.
Right.
And maybe somehow there's a way to successfully integrate their conscious, become conscious in some way. Right. I don't know.
I wonder if part of the process that they've been developing is this. So, hey, you want to live forever? Yeah, we'll take your brain or your thoughts, whatever, and put it into this little ball, and then put that into a new body. Now, part of that would be a new body.
Yes.
So maybe everybody, instead of going out into the world as themselves, gets their brain put into these these bodies that were supposed to be belonging to the rich people, and so they leave as other people.
Which also could be why there are a bunch of new brains hanging out in the water at the end.
Right, exactly.
They just replaced them and left.
Yeah.
They're like, ha 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 ha. Only problem is that then you'd have perhaps you'd have two versions of the same guy out in the real world, maybe.
Not if they've already. Right. Yeah.
You look exactly like that guy who's really rich.
If they only did it at somebody's death, though, right? So it's like you don't have any experiences after that.
Right.
Then it would be people who are dead.
One thing that a little point that reminded me of something.
But you probably want to have go there every once in a while for updates, right? Like just in case. What if I go out someplace and get killed? Ah!
That's true. Good point. You're like, hey, you got to come back and keep getting.
Yeah.
Keep me fresh.
Yeah. Well, very similar to that other show we were talking about.
Yes. By the way, on Legion coming up.
What, you're not going to name the show?
You can say the show.
Okay.
I'm not sure which show you're talking about.
It's the one with the people with the chips in the head there. In the stacks, and they get shot in the stacks.
Alter Carbon.
Yeah, Alter Carbon.
Yes.
I couldn't think of the name.
Okay.
That's why I was depending on
I was like, wait, which one are you talking about? There's a couple of different ones it could be. Yes, right. Alter Carbon.
You're rich, you have your brain backed
up. Good point. You get backed up, but you have a 2-day lapse.
Yep.
You're like, who killed me?
Make clones of yourself. Oh, blew that body away? Okay, I've got a clone. Put my stack into that clone.
So one thing that, just an off point. This is a minor point, but it was just interesting. When we see Akishita drawing the maze, and people think he's nuts, but then other people start doing it, and then they start putting it on scalps to hide the message. So I guess the idea is that when they get patched up, then the maze gets hidden. I think,
I was wondering, wait a minute.
Yeah, I think
how would that work?
Yeah.
They're just like, put the head
people
back in.
Like,
we don't notice any maze.
Yeah.
Or, cover it up.
But keep spreading the maze. But so that he just spreads, it's an unintended consequence, I think. I don't know, maybe Arnold intended the consequence, but it felt at the moment like it was an unintended consequence that just starts spreading around the park. Right. And it reminded me...
Perhaps which I don't think we've had any explanation of, these... violent delights have, or whatever.
Violent ends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who began that?
Right. Good point. But it reminded me in a more like a real world context of there was an issue once in World of Warcraft, which whatever. It's an MMORPG, so it's kind of like Westworld in a real low level Westworld, but there was a kind of an infamous thing that happened in that game where they introduced a new quest, and as one of the consequences of the quest was, in a limited term, you could get some kind of a plague.
Oh.
And it wasn't supposed to spread anywhere. It was supposed to be in this limited thing, but it turned out that people would leave the quest. There was a bug that you could leave the quest and still be plagued, and then you would transmit it to someone else. And they had to eventually shut the game down and wipe everything because everyone was getting the plague and it was killing the entire world, basically. And so it's kind of like the unintended consequence. It kind of reminded me of that notion of your game NPCs are all starting to spread with weird, virus, basically. So
that's funny.
The virus of the maze. Anyway, so yes, we'll be back. We're going to be talking about Legion, the season finale.
Yeah.
Paul, you weren't here for my one-man show thing.
I finally caught up over the weekend on that episode. But so I was starting to watch it. I was like, wait a minute, I haven't finished. Let me watch it.
I prophesized that if it's all in his head,
Oh.
This is the episode that would say it's all in his head. If it's not all in his head in this season finale, it's not all in his head.
Oh.
That's where I'm going with it. But I feel like it could be all in his head. All right, anyway, we'll find out. And we'll be back for Westworld. And I recorded a very long but really exciting and interesting World Cup preview.
Very much like this one.
Dorks on Sports. Very much like this one. Well, we're going to talk about the World Cup because that's very dear to my heart. Okay, anyway, that's it. Thanks, everybody. Bye now.
Bye.